What is going on, everybody? Welcome to RGTP. I am your host, Lewis, and with me, as always, is the outstanding co-host, my man with the cool shirts and the
Oh, you're
cool
too
hair,
kind. You're
big
too kind.
old beard, because we beard gang out here. We got my man Mamba. Mamba, how is we doing today?
I'm doing great, man. Honestly, days have been chill. Nothing too bad yet. So, chilling.
Of course, of course. And no, guys, it is not Friday. I know we have Matt here all the way from Baltimore, and he is usually here to break down some wrestling throughout the week. It is not that time because we're actually going to take a trip down football lane with our good old friend of the
Oh,
show. Matt, how are we doing today? And how excited are you to actually chop up some football with the guys?
I'm super excited. I normally chop up, the wrestling talk with you guys. I know that, Clash of the Castles coming up, so I know we're going to be locking into that hopefully next week, I believe. Uh, I love talking football. I've been talking football on different shows the last couple nights and talking wrestling as well. So this is a nice little, mix up because I usually don't get to talk sports with you guys except off air. So I'm looking forward to this.
I hear it. It's going to be great. And what better place to start than in Baltimore itself? Matt, you guys over there at Flock the North podcast have been covering this team. So give us the lowdown inside scoop. We know Lamar Jackson isn't playing this Sunday's preseason game. We also know he's waiting on a contract. And if it is not done by week 1, seems like he's going to bet on himself. Marcus Peters obviously coming back. So what's going on over there down in Baltimore for the boys?
Uh, Things are going pretty good. I know that we talked about it a lot last year when we were doing the battle chats. That's how we met through Rave Sports. Shout out to those guys over there and girls. Uh, John Harbaugh's taken a completely different approach to this team this year. He has not run a very tough camp. We have been very minimum on the long term injuries. Right now, we only have one player that's on the season-ending IR, and that's Vince Beagle. He was a backup linebacker. He came from, I
we
believe,
drafted him, I believe.
The Jacksonville Jaguars last year, and he was most notably on the Green Bay Packers. We were kind of looking for him to be a uh, backup at all four linebacker spots, plus play special teams. He tore his Achilles, but everybody else has just been getting like little bumps and bruises. Marcus Peters finally came back and started practicing yesterday. They gave him the day off today, and the way John Harbaugh's been doing it is the guys that are coming back off of season-ending injuries. He has them practice on one day, gives them off the next day, and hasn't come back the next day after that. To where he's only practicing them maybe 3 times a week, and focusing more on the physical recovery and the therapy side of things, which has been pretty cool. He already made the announcement that Lamar's not going to play on Sunday. At this point, with how last preseason and last offseason went, that's fine with me. I really don't care if Lamar steps on the field until week 1 against the Jets, personally.
How we feeling about him gaining those 15 pounds or so? He's looking swole out there now.
A lot of people. That's been a really big topic of conversation because a lot of people were like, "Oh, is he going to be slower?" If
Oh my
you if you look
goodness.
at if you look at him in training camp, not only is he putting more zip on the ball, his spirals are tighter. He's preparing himself for punishment, is what he's doing, because the offensive line, quite frankly, wasn't very good last year. We fixed it in terms of draft and free agency, and Ronnie Stanley hopefully being 100% ready to go week 1 in New York. But when he's running around the field out there, he's still got his burst. He's still got his quickness. He doesn't have like everybody's been wondering where the quick twitch like cuts are and the Madden like moves. I mean, he was doing that at 21. He's 25 now, so I'm not expecting him to be out there looking like a video game player amongst everybody else. So that's just me personally. But as far as his contract goes, I don't blame him at all. I really don't blame him because you got to maximize your earnings. You can't, just think to yourself, oh, he should just take whatever the Ravens give him. It's a business. And as a fan, it's hard to see the business side sometimes because you're blinded by your team and your fandom. Well, I mean, Lamar might play football until he's 35 years old, and if he can get a $300 million contract before he's 30, by all means, do it. Now,
Yes, sir.
Do I think the Ravens should pay him what he wants? No, because then you set a precedent for paying everybody what they want. But I think they're playing a dangerous game that they played with Joe Flacco 10 years ago, and that was Joe Flacco turned down at the time, a massive extension, bet on himself, won the Super Bowl, won Super Bowl MVP, and then reset the quarterback market as the first $120 million player. So now
Worked
you're
out
sitting.
so well.
It worked out so well. And right after he got paid, you had to completely tear down the team around him because you couldn't afford them anymore. So, yeah, Lamar wants $50 million a year. Okay. The Cleveland Browns totally screwed up the entire pay system for quarterbacks anyway, though. There's no secret there. And
Yep.
if they pay him, they need to put contingencies in place in case he falls apart physically, because you can't run him for 1,000 or 1,100 or 1,200 yards
Oh yeah.
and still expect him to throw for 4,000. He's never thrown for 4,000 in a season, but he's your franchise quarterback, and you got to put, contingency plans in place in case something happens. Because I'm a believer in Lamar.
I am too.
I've been critical of Lamar, but I'm a believer. And if you take away his ability to run halfway through this contract, he gets hurt or he just slows down, then you are stuck paying $50 million to somebody that you don't know for sure, 100%, if he can be a pocket passer, throwing the ball 40 times a game, throwing for 4,000 or 5,000 yards, and then still not turning the ball over as a pure passer. Because the thing is, they tried to make him a pure passer and it didn't work. You got to let him play his game. But is that worth $50 million a year? Then you chance franchising him twice before it gets astronomical. And then do you trade him after he's already been in the league for 7 years and then have to start this process all over again? So that's where a lot of people are, because you can't have it both ways. You can't pay him what he thinks he's worth and then still put a formidable team around him, because you're going to pretty much be drafting wide receivers every year. So when their 4 years or their 5 years is up, you let them walk or you trade them in their contract year, like they did with Hollywood, like they might have to do with Bateman if you give Lamar 50 plus. So it's going to be a revolving door, and he's never going to have consistency around him, and that's detrimental to somebody you put that much money into.
Yep, a whole lot of things going down in Baltimore. Mom, you got something to say?
Yeah, no,
Go
I
ahead.
got a question for Matt. Who on the Baltimore Ravens this year are you most excited to see?
Okay. See, I'm because I'm such a diehard fan,
yep.
And I'm also now writing on them, and I'm doing a show on them, so I'm forced to kind of give this opinion off. And a lot of it isn't necessarily the cliche Baltimore Ravens fan answers. Of course, I'm excited to see Mark Andrews.
Yeah.
I think he cemented himself. If he's not the best tight end in football, he's number 2. It's debatable with Kelsey and Kittle and who's in that top 3, who you put at 1. I think they're all fantastic tight ends. Even Darren Waller, still. Dallas Goedert is getting up there. Kyle Pitts is going to be up there very soon.
Hawkinson. Don't forget
TJ
Hawkinson.
If he gets a consistent quarterback, he's going to be a top 5, top 10 tight end. I loved Hawkinson coming out of college. I thought that we were actually going to try and trade up and get him if the situation was right. But he went top 10. I thought he was going to be more of a mid to late first round pick instead of a top 10 tight end. But that was just how the draft board fell. Offensively, I'm really excited to see Devin Duvernay. He's our number 2. He's our number 2 wide receiver, and he was our Pro Bowler for a kick return and punt return last year. And we don't have Sammy Watkins. We don't have any veteran wide receivers on this team for the first time in a very long time. So our entire wide receiver core, everybody's under 25.
Go get AB.
No. If I'm going to bang my fist on the table for any veteran wide receiver, it's Odell Beckham.
Yes.
Because
so
I believe that come November or December, when he's fully healthy, he puts us over the top even more because you still got to account for him being on your football field. That's just me personally, though. But Devin Duvernay is now going to be in a situation where he was a primary returner, and whenever he hit the field, it was predictable because Greg Roman's offense, the way he used Devin Duvernay last year, if Devin Duvernay lined up in the slot, either the left slot or the right slot, depending on where he was, and he went in motion, you knew it was a jet sweep, and teams keyed on that. Now Devin Duvernay is going to have that role behind Rashad Bateman to where he's going to have to see the targets. He's going to have to touch the ball a little bit more on offense, and he's going to benefit because everybody's going to be focused on Mark Andrews. And then you're going to double our number one wide receiver. So if you double our tight end and you double our wide receiver, Devin Duvernay is getting a linebacker or a safety, and he's fast. He's quick.
Yep.
So on the offensive side of the ball, I'm excited to see him. On defense, I am excited to see this kid, Travis Jones. He's a third-round draft pick at a UConn. He's a nose tackle, defensive tackle. He's 6'4" and he's 345 pounds. And he was flying around the field last Thursday night. The kid is a monster. He's strong and he's quick, and he has a high motor. And for the first time as a Ravens fan in probably the last 5 or 6 years, he was generating pass rush from the inside. So I was so excited to see him and Michael Pierce, who came back after 2 years in Minnesota. Those dudes were collapsing the pocket from the inside. I'm used to us seeing our pass rush collapse from the outside and the quarterback stepping up into a clean pocket. But they had Malik Willis scrambling for his life the first 3 drives, and it was so amazing to see. And this kid, Travis Jones, only won 4 games in 3 years at UConn. So
UConn does suck.
They suck. They're fucking terrible. They're absolutely terrible.
Solid, but football.
Yeah, the basketball programs are solid, but they don't put any money into football. But those 2 guys, I'm really expecting to have a good year. Kyle Hamilton has struggled. We had a practice a couple weeks ago at M&T Bank Stadium. Now, I don't know if you guys – I know I share everything with you, Lewis, so that what I write. Kyle Hamilton got cooked on a one-on-one by a receiver that we signed that morning. We signed Bailey Gaither that morning, and he was in practice that night and hit Hamilton with a post corner route and just absolutely – he was like out there looking like a ballerina spinning around.
Yeah.
And a lot of people unfairly criticize him because he's played in one game, a preseason game.
Yep.
Kyle Hamilton is probably one of these, and I'm not saying it's every athlete and every football player, but Hamilton's a part of this generation where he's a 2000s baby, and everybody got a participation trophy. Everybody was told how fantastic they were. He's hitting adversity for the first time. He was probably the best player on the Pee Wee field, on the high school field. He was the best defensive player at Notre Dame for 2 straight years. Okay, now you're playing on a defense where you got all-pro cornerbacks. You got an all-pro defensive tackle in Calais Campbell. You got Chuck Clark, who's one of the smartest safeties in football. You got Marcus Williams that just came from the Saints playing next to you. You're not the best player on the field anymore. And the thing is, he now has to cover Mark Andrews in practice every day. So it's a humbling thing when you got an all-pro tight end giving you the blues in one-on-ones and then in 7-on-7s and then full team. But I think he's going to get the hang of it. It's just that he's been getting brutally criticized in the local media and by fans on social media.
Don't take tackling tips from Marcus Williams, Kyle. That's all I can say.
See, that's okay. I want to ask you, since I know you're a Saints fan. If you look at Marcus Williams on film, now of course
Yes.
most of his film is going to be highlight reels.
Yep.
And then you look at the Pro Football Focus grade, and he graded out as the top free safety for the last 3 seasons, 19, 20, 21. So he's a great safety, but I keep on hearing from Saints fans on social media that he can't tackle. Like, is he a Deion Sanders I can't tackle?
No, it's more
or
of
is
the
he ankle biter that just
hit.
misses?
He wants the big hit, and
he doesn't wrap up.
We've just been we were hurt so many times by that man where he wanted the big hit, and just you already know. I know you're messing with me right now, but
I'm not. No, I'm seriously not though. I'm curious because
I'll give you the one play that everybody will bring up for Marcus Williams. It's when Stephon Diggs caught the pass down the sideline.
Playoffs.
Marcus Williams came up for that big hit, and he didn't wrap him.
Wasn't he like a second-year player at the time, though?
Took off. Yeah, he was. No, he was. He definitely was. But still,
no,
you should have tackled him, man. Just wrap him up.
So
that means he had a heart attack.
Bro, that is so disappointing, bro.
As a Ravens fan, we got that already. That's Patrick Queen.
You do.
One of your boys. Patrick Queen.
I'm glad you know. Yeah.
I have caught flack from homeboys, co-workers, other Ravens fans. I was not a fan of the Patrick Queen pick. I saw the highlight tape during the draft, and I was like, "Cool, this guy can make plays." But when they showed his combine like numbers, you're 5'11" and you're 212 or 213 pounds. 10 years ago, you're a free safety or a strong safety being that size, and you're a middle linebacker in a 3-4 defense where if you're the strong inside linebacker, your job is crashing the running lanes and taking on fullbacks and guards or tackles or tight ends. And you're 10 pounds bigger than the biggest cornerback we got.
Yep.
I hear
so I'm like, and then we got Malik Harrison from Ohio State, who is the exact opposite. He can bang in the trenches, but don't ask him to cover anything.
Hey, shout out to Matt with all the lowdown on what's going on in Baltimore.
Love the jerseys.
Absolutely outstanding. We have some comments. I got a dang no invite from what? DMs are always open. Not sure who you are. Slide in the DMs over at RGTP on Twitter. We can arrange something as always. And a friend of the show, Fourth and Flex, the boys that were actually supposed to come on.
They're always
they were supposed to make a guest appearance a couple weeks ago.
Quick, lights just flickered. If I lose power, it's going crazy outside right now.
Yeah, the boys over in Fourth and Flex Fantasy Football were supposed to come on a few weeks ago. We were going to have them on as guests, but COVID hit, ended up getting sick, wasn't able to pull the trigger on that week. So hopefully we can get them on in the near future. Get it all in there. What? It's Ambition. Ambition. Welcome, Ambition, to the chat. That's so awesome. But let's continue from Baltimore over to Los Angeles. We got the Chargers inking their safety, probably one of the best safeties in the NFL, in Derwin James, as this team continues to ramp up and build a Super Bowl contender around the young Justin Herbert. They have offense and they have defense on all sides.
God,
Matt, I'm going to send it to you right now because we are the AFC guys, as we know, Patriots and Baltimore respectively. And if either one of us get into these playoffs, we are most likely going to probably run into one of the young up-and-coming quarterbacks. What are your thoughts on everything that the Chargers have been doing for young Justin Herbert?
Herbert doesn't scare me the way he scares other teams. I don't get the hype. I'm not trying to be controversial or obnoxious about it, but I'm seeing all these rankings for quarterbacks in the league, and they're putting Herbert and Burrow ahead of Lamar and Josh Allen, and it's like I saw Justin Herbert come to M&T Bank Stadium last season, and we whooped their ass. They scored 6 points on us. 6. It was like 34-6.
I remember that. We did the preview game for that one.
Exactly. And we were in the chat. You were done talking by halftime. We were just shooting the shit.
Yep.
I mean,
I don't even know if I covered that game or if I just did the show for that one. I can't remember what happened for that one. I do remember that game.
I think we did the Rave one chat because you literally said at halftime, you were like, this game's already over. I mean, you're a Patriots fan, so you were just
and we
filling
beat
in
them
for
too
Brittany.
last year. So
Yeah, but they got all these dudes around Herbert. They got Austin Eckler, who's going to be arguably one of the top fantasy football performers this year. He's going to be an all-purpose guy.
Yep.
You gave Mike Williams a lot of money to be a second wide receiver.
Yes,
you still got Keenan Allen. On defense, you traded for Khalil Mack. You signed J.C. Jackson from New England.
So stupid.
Former Maryland Terp. Now you're paying Derwin James $19.8 million a year to be a safety. You still got Joey Bosa.
Yep.
So, yeah, they got a lot of names on paper, but they're still in a loaded AFC West. You still got Kansas City. They're not going to just magically go away. You still got the Raiders, who have Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller, and Josh Jacobs on that offense. Not to mention Kenyon Drake backing them up. So you still got the Raiders that traded for Chandler Jones, still have Max Crosby. And then you got Denver, who sold the farm for Russell Wilson, which is still crazy to me. But they're not even – they might be considered Super Bowl favorites, but they might not even win their division or make the wild card.
Tough.
I mean, that is true as well.
I mean, but the thing is, Herbert is lauded as this next great quarterback, but if you hit him, you rattle him. Anytime he's rattled, he plays terribly. He doesn't bounce back. And we don't even have that good of a pass rush, and we had him shaken. He couldn't even put up a touchdown in M&T Bank.
I think we picked him off twice.
We picked him. I don't know if we picked him up, but I know we were on his ass all day. And it kills me to see him hyped up in the manner in which he's hyped up. And Joe Burrow, but that's a whole nother conversation right there.
I hear it. Mamba, how are we feeling
Joe
about the Chargers
Burrow's
in the
top
AFC?
10, and Joe ain't 2 through 10. I'll tell you that. Chargers in the AFC.
Get the LSU bias out of there.
He can't.
That man came back from an injury in his first season. Came back and took a team to the Super Bowl. Okay.
Did he win?
Okay. No, hey, he should have.
Did he win?
If we're being honest, he should have. The refs paid.
Did he win?
They were paid off. All right.
Did he win? He did what Cincinnati does.
So
they go to the Super Bowl and lose.
Right? The Chargers. They have, on paper, you said it, they have a great team on paper. We need to know if they can finally stop a run, because that run game murdered them last year.
Yep.
And with Derwin James getting all that money, I just hope he can stay on the field. Derwin James is worth all that money that he got, but that's if he's on the field. And he's shown he's had some trouble staying on the field. So if he doesn't, it's like, is there something in the contract where they can get some money back from him? Is it like there's some contingencies like all contracts have? But Derwin deserves the money because he's
he absolutely deserves it.
Top 3.
You're absolutely right. He deserves it. When he's on the field and he's healthy, he deserves it. But if you pay him $19.8 a year and he's 2 years in and he wrecks his knee again, then what? Then you're talking about a 2-year recovery process where he misses one and then he's bouncing back the next. And then there's all 4 years. And then you got to pay him again.
Yeah. And I don't think they really did much to beef up their linebackers this year. So that could still potentially be a iffy spot for him.
Kenneth Murray's coming back from an injury.
I don't think they liked him last year. Everything I ever heard about Kenneth Murray on the Chargers, they were like, nah, not it.
I wanted him in Baltimore over Patrick Queen.
I believe it. Oh, terrible.
I'm not saying it because of the LSU thing. When we drafted Patrick Queen with Kenneth Murray still on the board. So, I mean, that's just me, though, and a lot of other Ravens fans.
Y'all took the right guy, though. Don't worry.
The LSU bias shall never leave the show.
Oh, hell no.
Ride for the boys down in the bayou. But the Chargers, nonetheless, it is going to be interesting as everyone's waiting to see the bloodbath that is going to ensue out of the AFC
think they'll get
West.
second place.
It is going to be entertaining as hell. But, of course, continuing bouncing around camps, we have joint practices. Patriots are fighting the Panthers. The Colts are fighting the Lions. Everything else in between joint practices is the place to be if you want the beef and you want the smoke. A lot of things going on. Mamba, how are we feeling? Because you sent me the troll post, so to speak, where Mac Jones, quote unquote, supposedly told Brian Burns to hold his nuts, and apparently that started a whole fight. I don't know how true that is with Mac Jones.
I hope it's 100%.
How are we feeling with joint practices? Because I know how Matt feels, and Matt's going to let us know how he feels about joint practices. But thoughts on joint practices when stuff like this ends up starting to pop off? And you, in particular, have a guy on your team, your first-round draft pick, Trevor Penning. He likes to fight quite a bit.
That's a horse right there. That's a nasty dude right there.
Don't forget Chauncey Gardner on the defense either.
He's a Gator, so it don't matter.
What do people expect, like with a joint practice? You have one team, the Patriots, and then a different team, the Panthers, and then you're like, yeah, go ahead, practice against each other. It's gonna get heated. Something's gonna be said. A move is gonna be done to a player where it's like, yo, that was mad disrespect. You see the clip all the time of, is it Deontay Hall and
Hopkins? Yep.
Yes, you see it all the time. And
for that man's Achilles.
Exactly. Like, if you have two NFL teams practicing each other, there's going to be sparks. There's going to be competition to show, look how good we are. We're better than you, even in training, right? Like, fights are going to happen. I don't want to say it's good for the sport, but at the same time, it kind of is, because it shows that the fire isn't going away from people, even when they're not in the game. And when you get into the game, they're going to be even more competitive because it actually matters, right? And if they can get to the playoffs, that matters more. It starts all in training, bro. And I think we can all agree with that. It starts at training, and then can it be implemented to the game?
Matt, joint practices.
We did talk about this before Mamba joined us off air. I'm going to kind of correlate this to my football playing days. I started playing organized competitive football when I was 9 years old. So that was 1998. I started doing that. So we did
my bad.
we did these things called jamborees, which was 15 or 16 teams or however many it was at the time would all meet at one big rec field, and you would literally play a couple series on offense and defense against everybody. And it was chaos because it was just practice, and it got ultra competitive. Injuries happened, fights happened, and even when going into high school, when we did joint practices with our varsity as JV and vice versa, whatever side you're on, it gets chippy. And what do these coaches and these organizations expect when you have 85 guys trying to make a roster, and then you multiply 85 times 2? So you're looking at 170 players on a football field, plus about 70 coaches. And it's the dog days of summer, and somebody gets disrespected, or somebody gets dogged, or somebody gets hit a little bit too hard after the whistle, and then you spend 15 minutes breaking up a scrum, And in the midst of all that, you got a quarterback you just traded for and a quarterback that was just drafted last year as a franchise quarterback for the Patriots. And it's like, what are you getting out of that? It's pointless to do these joint practices because you're already playing on the weekend. Why are you doing this? Travel to the home city, do your practices separately, and just play the game. It's preseason. We've been saying this all episode and every time we talk about it. Period. There's too many injuries in preseason to be doing that full of shit. You can't do it. It's reckless, and I put that on the coaches, not the players, because the coaches facilitate this stuff, and they're responsible for every single player wearing their uniform and the logo on their helmet. So I put that on Belichick and Rule over everybody else.
That's you mentioning them playing something, obviously, like if it's true, Mac Jones telling him to hold his nuts, right? Like a player can take what is said to them, not even just a player, humans in general do not let shit go. We don't. If something bugs us, we do not let it go until something is done about it. A player could felt they were slighted, right? And be like, all right, I'll see you in the game. And then next thing you know, blindside hit, something crazy could happen in the game. And it's like, well, it all stems back to the practice. Oh, well, that's great. That's perfect, but the competition.
To build off of that, joint practices also take away reps from guys trying to make the team because you're doing reps against another team instead of being in front of your coaches, being coached up and getting reps against your own teammates because there's only so many reps you can do in a joint practice. And here's the thing. If Mac Jones truly said that to him, that's a second-year quarterback. That's a second-year quarterback saying that to an all-pro defensive end. If you thought that was going to be a fantastic idea, I got news for you.
I have no clue what's going on out of that. I'm waiting to see like 100%. I told you I'm waiting for some sort of verified
we can't
person
ask your coach nothing
to let us know. So yeah, my coach is gonna. I don't know nothing. I don't know shit. Beats me. Fuck off.
And maybe his dog will tell us something.
Yeah, okay. But keep it pushing on. We got the young quarterbacks. A few of them played some nice young preseason games. Got some excitement. Kenny Pickett showed some flashes of some people starting to fall in love with. Trey Lance obviously threw that 76-yard touchdown that I think everyone has seen a million times. And Malik Willis is left, right, scrambling around, boom, bang, bing, into the end zone. Matt, I'll start with you. How are you feeling about some of these young quarterbacks? Obviously, Zach Wilson goes down a little bit. Jordan Love doesn't look so great. But we have had, some of these young guys out there. Trevor Lawrence did not play in the Hall of Fame game, but young quarterbacks early on in preseason. How are we feeling about the future of the position?
I think that it's exciting to see these young guys go out there and do their best and play and make some important plays. I got a firsthand, bird's eye view of Malik Willis. I thought he made some really good throws. I'm not going to go out on a limb and say that he is 100% reminiscent, but he gives certain things that he does in his game gives you Steve McNair vibes. The scrambling, the creating an extra second or two to throw the ball.
Rest in peace.
R.I.P. McNair. He was a Raven, for the last couple of years of his career. I liked what I saw out of Malik Willis. I really think that Tannehill needs to be worried the most. Out of everybody we're talking about, everybody that you named, Tannehill needs to be the most worried because the thing is, if Tannehill starts turning the ball over and he starts playing like the Miami Tannehill, he's going to find himself watching Malik Willis play. And if they can catch lightning in a bottle and manage to have Malik Willis and Derrick Henry on the field at the same time, competently playing Titans football, that's going to be rough. Because now you got to account for Malik Willis's legs as well as his arm. And then you got King Henry back there running the ball. And that spells trouble for the AFC South and anybody else they play for that matter. Kenny Pickett, I'm trying to remain objective because he is a Steeler, and it's always going to be fuck the Steelers with everything in
100%.
life. I've been taught that since I was in the first grade. So he had good numbers, and he made some really good throws.
Game-winning
And
drive.
it was a game-winning drive, but the grain of salt I take that with is that most of the guys he was doing that against are going to be working at Amazon or a car dealership in a couple weeks. It was unfortunate to see Zach Wilson get hurt. When I saw that injury, I saw it live. I was laying in bed watching the game, and I thought for sure he tore his ACL. I was like, the way, because you see every player you've ever watched carrying the ball, or even not carrying the ball, if you see a non-contact injury on a plant and drive, and you see them immediately take all their weight off of that leg, you know it's a knee. And the fact that he only had a torn meniscus and a bone bruise on his kneecap was amazing, because an ACL tear, you're talking him not being ready to go until this time next year at the earliest. I get a chance to see my boy Joe Flacco start against us on on Sunday, September 11th. That's going to be a little bit of an emotional day for a lot of fans that loved him. I loved Joe the entire time he was here. I like what we're seeing out of these young quarterbacks. If they can maintain this level of play and actually do it against some NFL competition, against starters, then I'll be really excited about the future of the league, because we're in a transition period again where Brady and Rodgers are pretty much done. Roethlisberger's gone. Phillip Rivers is gone. All the quarterbacks of the 2010s are pretty much, dinosaurs now. Russ is heading towards his mid-30s. So now we already know that Pat, Allen, Lamar,
Burrow. Don't forget Burrow.
Burrow, and whoever. Now you're seeing the next crop of quarterbacks, and the league's going to be fine if these guys are the people that they were directed to be.
Want to just point out, we just mentioned nothing but AFC quarterbacks right there with those names. That's kind of wild, but it happens. A name you did not mention though, Trevor Lawrence. I have been blessed with the opportunity to watch both Jaguars games this year, and oh my God, do they suck? It's terrible. Now, I would say the Hall of Fame game, they had like no starters. Like, I want to say there was maybe 3 starters that actually played for them in that game, so it makes sense.
Here's the thing about Trevor Lawrence, and I don't have anything bad to say about him. I pity Trevor Lawrence because he was literally given the worst possible hand you can be dealt as a professional quarterback.
Terrible.
9 times out of 10, when you're in the number 1 overall draft pick, you're going to a shitty football team.
Yep.
That's a shitty football team whose co-CEO runs a shitty wrestling organization.
You looped it back in a Friday.
Had to. Yeah.
That's it. That's all I'm gonna say on it. I just wanted to throw that out there. But he has his running back from college drafted with him, gets hurt, misses the whole year. You dealt with the Urban Meyer scandal. Absolutely atrocious the way they handled that. You had to essentially change the entire culture yet again. Going from Marone, I believe that was Doug Marone down there.
Yep.
To Urban, and now you got Doug Peterson. And the thing is, they're going to give him a lot longer of a leash than anybody else because he's got the pedigree from Philly.
Yep.
And he's got to change the whole system, the defense and the offense. This is going to be Trevor Lawrence's, if you count his final year at Clemson, his 3rd straight head coach and his 3rd straight offensive coordinator.
And you know what? The starters, when they played in that game, they actually did not look bad. Trevor Lawrence actually looked like a competent quarterback playing. they did have times where they stalled out in the red zone where they had to take the field goal. So once they figure out how to score touchdowns, it'll be better. But Trevor Lawrence, not that bad.
He's got pieces. If ATN is anything like he's supposed to be, yeah, you got a good change of pace running back that can catch out of the backfield, that can, be essential in the screen game. And you got James Robinson down there, who is the pound the rock 15 times a game, wear the defense down. You got DJ Chark. You have Christian Kirk, who they just signed in the offseason.
Didn't he leave?
I think he's still
is in Detroit.
Is he in Detroit?
Yeah.
I thought he was still there. Because I know that we tried trading for him.
It would have been nice if he was.
Okay, so they got Christian Kirk.
Yes.
So
Laquan Treadwell.
They put some money into the offense. Now the only thing is there going to be a competent enough offensive line to block for this guy?
Yes. Because
he's and I know last year was culture shock. He went from being a dominant college quarterback on arguably a top 5 college program in the entire NCAA, and now you're getting your brains beat in repeatedly, running for your life.
Quite possibly the worst team in the NFL.
Like, I'm pretty sure Alabama could probably give them a game.
Oh, honestly,
easily.
Maybe, yeah.
Hey,
I like them.
Yes.
I like them. I it's not like I'm forgetting about him. It's just that I need to see 1 year of competency with a decent team around him before I even throw him into the middle of the pack with the AFC quarterbacks.
Yeah, I agree. No, I agree. Definitely, like, having what happened last year, it is fair to an extent where it's like, wow, you played really bad. But at some point, it's like, let's give him a fair shot and give him, like, an okay circumstance, and then we can judge the man. And like I'm saying, the preseason game, they get those touchdowns in the red zone. Man maybe has, like, 3 touchdowns thrown in his first few drives. So it was solid. It was solid.
Yeah, they're gonna need to figure out a lot down there in Jacksonville. Division is, kind of wide open. We got to see where Tannehill looks like with those Tennessee Titans, the Colts, and Matt Ryan trying to fix that team and that organization, because that window is very scarce out there in Indianapolis. Very good defense, some good run game, but quarterback has been in flux.
That's an interesting dynamic over there. You got Matt Ryan, who's pushing 40.
Yep.
He's got a fresh breath of new life after getting out of Atlanta. Did him no favors the last 3 years at least.
Nope.
The team just kind of fell apart at the seams, and I don't really know a whole lot about the ownership dynamic in Atlanta to really criticize or not criticize. But Matt Ryan going to Indianapolis, he's staying in a dome for half of his games.
Yep.
So that's a factor. He's playing in warm weather still. That's another factor.
Don't have to worry about his defense.
Doesn't have to worry about his defense blowing a ton of leads. You got arguably a top 5 running back that can catch out of the backfield. And you got a good stable of young wide receivers led by Michael Pittman Jr. So it's going to be interesting if he can stay healthy and that offensive line can keep him upright. He might do some damage, and they could potentially be a threat to win that division.
Yep. No, the AFC South is definitely interesting. There's so many teams in the AFC that I can see a multitude of different outcomes. Some teams that we expect to be good are probably going to be bad, which is most likely what's going to happen. It happens every year.
Oh, yeah.
So that is going to be interesting. Keep on moving on down, talking NFC teams. A team that doesn't get talked about too much here. We're going to mix it up a little bit. Talk a little bit about the Dallas Cowboys being depleted out on multiple fronts, offense and defense, losing all kinds of players. Now, Amari Cooper is obviously gone. He is a Brown. CeeDee Lamb is now banged up all of a sudden, who is their number one. Michael Gallup, who they paid a 3-year extension to, is going to start off the year injured. And then James Washington, who they brought on over from Pittsburgh, is also gone. And then there's obviously the story of, is Zeke ever going to be Zeke again?
No.
So what is the expectation for Dallas and the boys Mamba in your territory of the NFC, and another team that you could potentially be facing in the playoffs?
We're going to shit all over them. Realistically, I like Dak as a quarterback. I do like him. I know a lot of people are, oh, he ain't no real quarterback. And it's like, bro, man's a quarterback. Come on. Realistically, 10 wins. But with all these injuries, I didn't even know all of their wide receivers were injured. So
almost all of their wide receivers are injured right now. CD just twisted his ankle a couple days ago.
Yeah, after Diggs punched him in the dick. Yeah. They had issues with their tight end trying to get a contract. Yep. And then it came out, Sean Payton's like, oh, yeah, I'd love to come back. And Mike McCarthy is like, oh, I don't care about anything. I know what I can control and stuff. And it's like, yes, you can
That's
only
such
control
a sad
what
situation,
you can.
man.
At their peak, 10 wins. I give them 10 wins. But with everything you just said, because, again, I did not know I saw CD got hurt. I didn't know all their other wide receivers were hurt, too.
But I think Michael Gallup's missing at least the first 6 weeks.
You got also Jerry Jones saying, yeah, Zeke needs to be the featured back, but Pollard's putting up just the same numbers as Zeke with about 200 less touches than Zeke. So it's a shit show. And shit show teams know you may be winning maybe 6 max. And guess what? Sean Payton's your head coach next year.
That's, I being in the area of the country that I live in, you would be shocked. I'm in I don't consider Baltimore the DMV because it's not the DMV. I'll explain it to you guys off screen. Because that's just that's like PG County and all that kind of stuff, Southern Maryland.
Yeah, DMV is wild, bro. They look wild over there.
Southern Maryland and DC is almost equal parts Commanders country and Dallas country. There's a lot of Dallas Cowboy fans in DC and the surrounding counties of Virginia.
Makes sense if you think about it, right? With DC being the country's capital and stuff, and they're like, "Yeah, America's team, yeah."
But, I mean, that is a little bit, but
so it makes sense.
But there's, it's an interesting dynamic. Number one, Mike McCarthy is a sitting duck, lame duck head coach.
Poor guy.
It's terrible because the minute Sean Payton quit on the Saints, which is what he did exactly. I've mentioned it on this show before. The first time you guys had me on to talk sports, Sean Payton didn't have Drew Brees to lean on and quit. He is a quitter. I will forever lose respect for him for the simple fact that 1 year of Taysom and Jameis and he bounced. I mean, I understand it might be a little bit comical, but the thing is, you're supposed to be a Super Bowl winning head coach who is an offensive genius with a good defensive coordinator, and you bounced when shit got rough. And then if this Dallas team underperforms, Jerry's bringing in Peyton, and he's going to give him full control. And then you're going to give Peyton another really good quarterback. It's going to be skewed numbers again. I'm not a Dak Prescott fan. I think Dak Prescott is a fantasy football quarterback and nothing more. I don't think that. I don't think. And the thing is, it's not like I hate him. He's the first $40 million quarterback that didn't deserve it. He's done nothing of substance to earn that money.
But I mean, you got Kyler now getting that money.
He's done nothing to earn that money.
Yeah, no, contracts now are given to people where it's like, you got the potential. You could potentially do that for us. Here's everything.
They paid Kyler Murray $50 million on what he could possibly do, not what he's done.
A lot of projections.
Yes. I love it. It's great for the players.
As far as the actual football team itself, trading Amari for a bag of footballs was ungodly, unnecessary. They could have done something a little bit more amicable to potentially keep him around. CeeDee Lamb,
even better. Third round pick,
you're gonna see what CeeDee Lamb's truly made of this year because he's now the guy. Having Amari Cooper on the field takes attention off of you, whether you want to admit it or not. And a lot of Dallas Cowboys fans will admit that. Michael Gallup tore his ACL. He's probably going to, like Lewis said, he's going to miss the first third of the season. It's just inevitable. James Washington comes over. Thank God he left the Steelers. So he's hurt. I think he's going to miss the whole season as well, or at least most of it. I don't understand why Dallas Cowboys fans get so bent out of shape about Zeke. You had damaged goods on arrival. Ohio State ran him into the ground for 3 years. Yep. That man had nearly 900 touches before he got to the NFL. And then you ran him into the ground behind that monster offensive line.
Yep.
And then then you pay him $40 million. And then you're wondering why he's breaking down. The man has been run into the ground since he was 17 years old. And then the last couple of years, you haven't put a formidable offensive line in front of him. Dallas Cowboys are known. Dallas has been known for their offensive line since the 90s. They've always had a good offensive line for the most part, at least running the football. You got a Hall of Fame guard, Zach Martin, in front of you. You had a potential all-pro center, Travis Frederick, before he had to retire. Left guard's been kind of Tyron Smith before he got hurt was heading towards that upper echelon of left tackles if he wasn't already there. And then you have La'el Collins, who you trade away.
Who he protecting now?
It's a big LSU jerk fest up in Cincinnati. We already know. Tyrann and Landry should have went there, and it would have been an LSU splooge fest. But that's just
Odell
me.
in there. Get Justin Jefferson in there. Amazing.
Justin Jefferson's better than Chase anyway, but that's just me.
I agree.
Oh, do y'all want me to agree or disagree right now?
I don't know.
So the Dallas Cowboys, right? Sorry to cut you off. I thought about this as you were speaking. Their defense, they have flashes on defense. Micah Parsons, insane rookie year. Like, insane rookie year for a defensive player. And then Diggs, he got those picks. He got the pick sixes, but
he's also terrible at giving up touchdowns.
He got exposed. Yes, he did. So it's not like if they can't get anything going on offense that their defense is going to bail them out, because that defense has not really showed the ability of slowing many people down, barring a few, but they don't really have it all together, I guess is how I should wrap that up.
And let's think about this. I'm going to build off what you said, Mamba. Let's think about this for a second. You mentioned Trayvon Diggs. Cool. Fantastic gambling cornerback, but he is a liability when it comes to giving up yards and touchdowns and big plays. He happened to be the right place and right time for literally half of his interceptions, but I'm not going to take that away from him because he had a great year in terms of turnovers. Then you got Micah Parsons. You got DeMarcus Lawrence. After that, they have nobody of substance. So as an offensive coordinator, if you can game plan for Parsons, if you can game plan to isolate Parsons and take him out of the game, and you can run at DeMarcus Lawrence, and you can throw away from Diggs, you're going to beat them. Yep. It's kind of like, I'm going to use the Ravens as an equivalent. After 2019, when Lamar set the entire league on fire and was slicing and dicing everybody, teams started running cover 0 and started running 6 defensive backs on the field. And look what happened.
Yep.
They figured it out.
It's a lot like Mahomes. Everybody pulling up cover 2 on Tyreek last season. Stays had that ugly ass start in the beginning, so it is going to come down to adjustments. Dallas is in a very peculiar position. A lot of things are on the line.
That
Dak has to
division,
make sure it
that
looks good.
division's
That
going to be
division
tough
dog
too.
water.
The Eagles are probably the best team in that division, and I know we said it last year too, but the Commanders, dude, they seem to catch fire near the end, but if they can kind of get it going a little bit earlier with Carson Wentz.
It's all on Carson Wentz because the defense is going to be just fine.
They need their problem is similar to Dallas. Their problems lie in the offensive line.
Oh yeah,
didn't they just lose Sheriff?
Yep,
he's in Jacksonville.
Yeah, that's right.
So
the Jags coming.
Whatever.
I made him speechless.
Whatever. Anyways, before we wrap up the show, we're going to take up one more team heading up north. There's good news and bad news coming out of Green Bay, whether you like ayahuasca or not, or you like Aaron Rodgers calling out his wide receivers or not. A lot of things going on. Obviously, their first-round draft pick, their second-round draft pick, Christian Watson, is back, healthy, ready to go. Robert Tonyan, another weapon at tight end, also back and ready to go. And Elgton Jenkins is back on the offensive line, but still no David Bakhtiari, who's arguably one of the best offensive linemen in the entire NFL. Still missing time and nowhere to be seen. And then reports came out that Aaron Rodgers just absolutely chewed out his wide receiver core. And reported by Adam Schefter, there was apparently a meeting held earlier today about said chewing out with the wide receiver core. So a lot of things happening in Green Bay this week. Obviously, Jordan Love played against the 49ers. Looked a little iffy, but obviously Aaron Rodgers is still stealing headlines out in Green Bay. No Devontae Adams. Mamba, another one of your NFC opponents that you guys are going to be seeing this year. How are we feeling about all the news coming out of Green Bay?
I think you missed like the biggest headline that came out of Green Bay. This man taking shrooms, bro, to win
ayahuasca.
Oh, my bad. I didn't know that's what it was, but
I didn't know what it was either.
Right.
It's not shrooms, it's ayahuasca.
Oh, okay, my bad. Honestly, different. I thought you were talking about the college. I think it's like ayahuasca or something like that.
Nope.
Yeah.
You take this thing, and apparently you're supposed to puke for some odd reason.
Oh. Okay, so this man vomit the football downfield. I got you. All right. But what do you expect? Honestly, the wide receivers are all young. Randall Cobb probably isn't. He's probably around, but it's like, you know what you're getting out of me. Do I really need to do all this, right now for you? But they're young. Alan Lazard, undrafted. Christian Watson, second-round pick. Maybe he could have snuck into the first. Maybe he is that guy that the receivers are missing, but they're all young. They're all still learning. You have no chemistry with them, Aaron. I say it every time. Devontae Adams was 1,500 yards. The next person had like 480. What do you expect? They're not. It is Aaron Rodgers. We're not like, oh, maybe he's overthrowing them or underthrow. We know it's probably getting to him, but they don't know you yet, dude. It's gonna take a little bit of time to build chemistry with you. Like, just relax. You be intense because it's gonna make them like, oh shit, we're making Aaron Rodgers mad. We need to get our shit together, or we're gone. And that's good for him, but they're still learning, guy. It'll be all right.
I hear it, Matt.
When you have a generational quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, he is going to get away with a lot of shit that other quarterbacks will not and cannot get away with. The shrooms, that's one of them. The dude was tripping balls all off season, most likely. And
his tattoos lit too.
He's I'm not trying to.
He got abducted by aliens, and they swapped out the old Aaron Rodgers.
Maybe.
Okay. Let me put it to you this way. He is starting to realize that Devontae Adams, for the first time in 3 years, has been speculated to be gone, and he's actually gone. You know, we've been hearing about it for a while. He's gone. There's no other way to put it. Now you got to fill that 1,500 yard a year void. And right now, there's nobody in Green Bay that can do that. You got Randall Cobb, you got Sammy Watkins, you got Alan Lazard.
Didn't even know he's on there.
And then you got a bunch of nobodies. And then you got Robert Tonyan just coming back at tight end. And then you know he's going to rely heavily on Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon in the passing game. That's where he's going to make up a lot of his yardage. He has every right to chew out his wide receivers. It's desensitizing the league and the amount of fire that these quarterbacks should have. Unequivocally, he shouldn't have gotten a talking to. None of that. Sometimes you need to dig in your receiver's asses about fundamental shit. He's a Hall of Fame quarterback. He is a Super Bowl winning quarterback. He is a once-in-a-lifetime quarterback, and it's crazy that Green Bay has had 2 straight once-in-a-lifetime guys. You got to play to a certain level there. That they I'm not saying they deserve it because I don't watch their coverage. It's not local, but I'm all for it because at the end of the day, as long as he wasn't degrading or demeaning to him, if he's telling them to get their shit together, by all means, get your shit together because Aaron Rodgers has enough pull in Green Bay to where he can get you going. If you're not Randall Cobb or Watkins or Lazard, you could be on the street 6 o'clock tonight. You know, that kind of stuff. So, yeah. I mean, go ahead. I'm sorry, Mom.
I was just going to add, he knows what it takes for a wide receiver to make it in the league. So he, being a quarterback, he can still give them like, yo, when I played with these people, they would do this and like not like do this, but like maybe give them a tip that he saw, and maybe it translates to that wide receiver in a way that it helps them. So then it's all about building that chemistry. He had Donald Driver, who's the white guy. I want to say Jordan Matthews,
Nelson.
but there you go, that guy.
Jordan
and then
Nelson,
Devontae
man.
Adams.
Yep.
All great wide receivers. So Aaron Rodgers chewing you out, maybe listen.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see that team. That whole division's very interesting.
Let's go Lions.
We talked about the Bears and Roquan and stuff that's going on. Justin Fields and the boys over there. Going to keep
Come to
an eye.
Baltimore.
Oh, boy. You guys don't need any more studs on that defense.
Patrick Queen and a 4th round draft pick.
No.
Patrick Queen and a 5th round draft pick.
No,
I'm
no
dead.
Patrick Queen allowed.
Just take Patrick Queen.
No.
Yeah, it is going to be so interesting. Hard Knocks continues on as the Detroit Lions are front and center of our preseason. And then I believe the Cardinals are the midseason team that will be taking over as we follow the journey of Hard Knocks.
Get to listen to Hollywood Brown bitch even more. Yay.
The NFL is slowly approaching as preseason continues. We'll be back next week here on Wednesday to talk more preseason stuff, more injuries, any new signings, and any news around the NFL that we get our hands on. We will also be breaking down the NBA schedule. We have opening night and Christmas Day games confirmed. Christmas is going to be jam-packed. I believe basketball starts. Yeah, I believe basketball starts at noon per usual. We'll have the games throughout the day for that, along with not 1 and not 2, but 3 NFL football games on Christmas. It is going to be
too much shit to watch on Christmas.
It is a lot going on. It was the link was just dropped. I think it's like 12. Then something else gets on at like 1:30. Then something's on at like 3. Then something else on at 4:30. Then there's something else on like 5. Then there's a game on at 7. Christmas is going to be jam packed
all over the Sixers next game. Yeah,
it is.
They're not happy.
We'll
with
see
that
how
game
it is.
being on Christmas.
Still waiting on Kevin Durant news. Still waiting on Donovan Mitchell news. Still waiting on
People say
Kyrie
he's gonna
Irving.
retire, bro.
LeBron signs a big fat bag, of course, nonetheless. We were talking about that earlier. Also, all that and more next Wednesday. Make sure to tune in on Friday. We're going to get into all the goods on what the hell is happening down in Orlando, down in NXT, as the UK invasion has begun. There's been debuts. Cool. There's a new NXT UK champion. There's all kinds of stuff going on.
Lewis.
Matt is just like, what the hell is happening?
They ruined the UK taping with the debut last night.
We'll talk about that in a little bit when we get off screen. But all that and more, tune in on Friday. It's going to be awesome. AEW kicks off in less than an hour. Me and Mabo make sure to check out on that. Matt, let the folks know where to find you and when all your amazing content can be viewed and read and listened to.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at BWATB Podcast. Episode 4 of my new Flock the North podcast, brought to you by StadiumRant.com. Drops Friday night with my co-host Josh. Catch my articles on Stadium Rant if you type in Flock the North. And I got a couple good interviews coming up at the end of the week with a professional boxer from Baltimore. So look out for that. I appreciate y'all having me on. I cannot wait to get on for the Clash of the Castle preview show, and I get to shit on AEW a little bit more.
Always tons of fun, Mom. But let the folks know what they got to do.
Smell good with Febreze. Not an ad. I'm sorry I did that, Febreze. Like, comment, share, subscribe, notifications on.
Make sure to be